Hello, I want to talk to you a little bit about your Desmos calculator, available on the SAT. It's up in the upper right-hand corner, a button you can get into it, and it's basically the graphing calculator, which should look like this. Hang on, I need to bring the calculator up. Okay, there it is. Okay, the keyboards are normal. You can multiply like you would with any calculator, and it'll give you the answer right away. So any multiplication or any addition can happen with these? Sure, but you probably want to do things like fractions, because you normally can multiply on your own. Even if you can't, you can make fractions and add and subtract them easily. What I did was I took 1 and I divided it by 5, because a fraction is truly a division statement. I'm going to subtract 3/8, so 3 divided by 8. It'll give me the answer. But what it gave me was in decimals, and I don't want it in a decimal. I want it as a fraction. On the upper part of the left-hand side of the bar in color here, I'll tap to give it to me as a fraction. So you can change decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. Also, so if you have to reduce a fraction, like 28 over 63, we'll change it to a decimal. And then you can change it back to a fraction and it will be reduced. So 28 over 63 ends up being 4/9. It's one of the ways to work with decimal. Let's say you've got a decimal and it goes on and repeats forever. Well, as soon as you get the little fraction button off to the side, you can change it to a fraction. As you go far enough, it will change it into the improper fraction, where 1.333 forever ends up being 4/3. There are other things it does. Signs with notation is very common with it. So if you had to multiply 2.8, I put a point there, to the 10th power times 10 to the, doesn't matter what power, you could square it or you can add to whatever power you'd like. Let's say it's the -6 power times 7.1 times 10 to the 5th power. That should give you your decimal. And if you want that as a fraction, you can go ahead and change it into it by hitting the button off to the side. It might be handy as a decimal. Like all other calculators, it should be able to do order of operations. So I'm taking 4 times the parentheses 18 minus 2 to the 2nd power. So I would use either the square key or this key, a to the b. Either which way, you'll get it to the 2nd power. So I'm going to divide that by 7 and 8, subtract 5 to the 3rd power. It ends up being a horribly long fraction. Hopefully they're going to estimate it or come close where you don't have to add all those in. Because even as a fraction, it's kind of annoying. All right, so those are basic operations that almost every calculator can do. But then we've got logarithms that your calculator does, your normal calculator does have a log button. But let's say you're taking the log of base 7 of 28. Well, your log button is basically base 10 on your calculator. So you'll want to go to your functions here and hit log. with a little a underneath. This will you're able to change your base from 10 to, like I said, log base 7 of 28 will give me correctly. So I don't need to memorize the change of base formula. These are some of the basic things that you can do with a graphing with the calculator. So one thing I do suggest is bring a mouse. Computer mouse. Make sure it's got the switch inside of it that you can put into your computer so you can scroll going up and down. It will save you time when you're doing this. It'll be easier that way, especially when I get into more complicated things like solving system of equations.